Hello, everyone, and welcome back to another Babylon Irons video with myself and Mike. Today, we're going to be talking about Mark Noble and the latest rumour that he's going to be stepping down from his role as sporting director. Of course, we take these kind of things with a pinch of salt. So, disclaimer before everyone panics that it's probably not as bad as you're fearing right now when you've clicked on this video. But Noble, obviously came in that sporting director role this year, and he is now being rumoured to be stepping down, is one way of putting it. But let's just see where the original tweet came from. This came out today, obviously from Footy Insider. West Ham Central tweeted it, saying that he's going to be stepping down from his current role as sporting director. He's not adapted to the role behind the scenes very well and is going to instead take up responsibilities with the academy side of things to help progress his coaching career. Now, just off the bat, Mike, how would you assess Noble's kind of performance as sporting director so far? Because when he first came in, it was very clear that he didn't really know what was expected of him. He was very much trying to learn on the job, and there hasn't been much guidance. So do you kind of empathize with him a little bit with how it's gone so far?
Oh, yeah, I totally empathize with him. I think he's come in with an expectation of what the role entails. Let's face it, we have a board that tend to talk one thing and do another. Yeah. So there's every chance that they've had conversations. Mark Noble thought maybe thought that those conversations were actually discussing what the role would involve, as opposed to how a utopian version of what the role is. And when he's come in, he's found that actually really what they wanted was someone just to, I'll put it in another way. They brought in someone who was a face, someone who could be utilized in which to provide a buffer in times of need, which we've had, and someone who can essentially divert pressure away from those directly, supposedly underneath him, and also could be a fall guy if the board needed to, and a fall guy which the fans are not going to revolt as they normally would because it is Mark Noble.
Yeah.
Now, there probably was also some less sinister or less conspiracy theory thoughts around it, such as he's well known in the club. He will also be able to help maybe Moyes understand a bit more the necessity or the need for fans to see youth players come through and kind of maybe open up that dialogue a bit more, because he was a trusted general as a player. So if he is training and playing with those players and he's saying, you need to look at this kid is ready, I see it within him. Yeah, that will maybe have more weight with Moyes than, say, the coaching staff that has been there for many a year, like Kevin Keane and Mark Phillips. That they're not Moyes people as such. They are West Ham people, so their philosophies and ideas may be slightly juxtaposed. So having someone like Mark Noble maybe helped that conversation.
I think I think we were all kind of confused what Noble would actually be doing in the role. We know what he would bring. Everyone when he first was appointed, this is amazing. He's going to be among the club. He's going to be, talking to these, academy players coming through. But I don't think anyone really understood what his role would be, including Noble. There was a lot of, maybe weight on his shoulders to get things right, to try and do every aspect. I just don't think that he has the capabilities to do it, especially being so young and being so new to a role like that. I think it also kind of now, if we take a look at what the Footy Insider have said, so they kind of said that Noble was eager to return straight after he kind of retired and contribute to the club in some capacity. So he wanted to be there for something, but it's understood that a director role behind the scenes has not suited not suited his skill set particularly well. And I think that's fair enough. If that is true, I think most people would have probably expected that to start with. It's a lot of responsibility. And hopefully what we'll talk about in a second, it will give him a little bit more focus on what he is good at. And do you think that this kind of links in with the rumours and the kind of noise about a director of football coming into the club, and then that responsibility that Noble currently has is going to be lifted off of him, and he can focus on what we spoke about, the academy?
Yeah. So I have a completely different view to what many others will say. And some will say, it's me just putting two together and coming up with 4 kind of thing. Well,
Yeah.
5, not 4. 4,
Yeah.
you're right. But maths was never my strong point.
I think you meant 4 deep down because you're right, Mike.
But basically, what I was told before by someone, and it seems very sensible and very logical, was that the director of football role was put out there to support Mark Noble, so to guide him through, because he's maybe not hit the ground running as much as they hoped. But again, I don't think he's necessarily been given the tools in which to do the role.
Yeah.
I don't think Mark Noble does not have the skill set, or would not have the skill set. Look at the likes of Ajax. Technical director was Edwin van der Sar. They had Mark Overmars, I think, was their director of football.
Yeah.
To say that ex-players can't come in and do these roles because it's beyond them is nonsensical. Those guys were brought in because they understood the club and they learned the business, because they were giving the proper tutelage in which to understand the business and to operate within that business structure, but also people that intrinsically knew the club and the club had the club's best interests at heart. Now, I think had Mark been given that same infrastructure and that same support, he would have been able to have done it. And there's other examples throughout Europe of this, even at Dortmund, the same again. I think with Zoff was same kind of principle. Now, the director of football, to my knowledge, again, this could be true, could not be true, but to my knowledge, was being brought in which to support Mark Noble and to help guide him through. So Mark Noble continuing his sporting director role, arguably concentrate a bit more on the youth, but would be there in which to be given guidance to effectively then be in a position to take the role over fully, right?
Yeah.
That was my understanding as to why director of football was coming in. Now, what I personally feel now is happening, and again, this is not just because of information that's come to light around potential takeover, and I've said it consistently that I do believe it's going to happen. It's just there are lots of dominoes that need to drop for it to go. I'm hoping they drop sooner than later. There's every chance at the moment it might go to next year.
Yeah.
But there are dominoes in play which could see it happen. Now, what I do feel is that this recognition that he is not suited to the role could also be the fact that there are discussions afoot which are saying we maybe need to clear the decks at an executive level. So removing a director such as Noble would be distasteful.
Yeah.
But to reimagine his role, realign his priorities, is not distasteful, and it keeps him within the club. It keeps a level of continuity, and also it means that anyone that comes in does have maybe a trusted voice within the club, who's maybe going to say, this is what the club stands for, this is what the club does. And also it's someone who's definitely going to be an advocate for youth. So it makes sense, but it feels partly to me like it's a kind of a clearing of a middle layer that has been in place. Obviously, director of football, if we was going to get it done, I think it would be done already, in all honesty. And I think it's there. It's to happen. But I think it's the reason it's not maybe progressed as quickly as it should do, because it can progress and it should progress quickly, is because we are maybe clearing the decks in case of what might come. And it's allowing anyone else who should come in to implement their own. And again, as you're not then ousting someone who is known or is viewed as by many as a club legend, and by repurposing the role now, it makes it more palatable for fans, and also it makes it palatable for Noble not to then just be told, right, now your role's completely changing, your focus is this, you're just looking after youth, crack on with that.
Yeah. I mean, the actual article, like you mentioned, it did go on to say from the Footy Insider about Noble what would happen for him, moving forwards. It said that Noble has actually communicated himself, I don't know how true this is, to the board, that he would like to continue serving the club, but, with a more hands-on approach compared to what he's doing at the moment. And the role with the club academy is set to be offered to Noble, allowing him the chance to work with the younger players and progress his coaching ability. So a lot up in the air at the moment, like you mentioned. This could all you put 2 and 2 and getting 5, but there could be a little bit more. It could be maybe a 4.5. You know, with what you're saying. So, I guess we've said it for the past few months. There's a lot going on behind the scenes, so I feel like we just need to wait for a couple, or maybe in the next month is going to be pretty crucial once the season ends, especially in terms of what's going to happen, because there's a lot of change happening, not just on the pitch, but off the pitch. So there could be, like you mentioned with a director of football, could be just holding fire on that right now because there's bigger changes happening and they want to get it right for the person that may be coming in. So what that means for Noble, we're not too sure yet. So we will keep you in touch with anything that develops. But it looks like he will be sticking around the club. And even if this isn't true, he's, like you mentioned, he's still got that sporting director role and he'll have someone else there as a director of football to support him. So yeah, let's see what happens with Noble. What do you guys think about him in that sporting director role? Do you think he needs more time to develop? Do you think that the director of football is going to allow him that development and, give him that license to progress as a sporting director? Let us know in the comments. Make sure to leave a like on the video, subscribe to the YouTube channel, and Mike, until next time,
come on, you
Irons.